So it's 2010, and Transformers as a franchise was doing a lot this year. Transformers Prime was coming out on this new channel called The Hub, the Generations toy line was starting up, IDW was going strong. It was a great time to be a Transformers fan. But there was one thing that came out this year that really surprised everyone. A piece of media that would take this series in a new direction. That's right, I'm talking about Transformers Cyber Missions.
Insignificant buzzing bumblebee.
What do you mean? This is amazing. Oh, and there was also this game that came out that year called War For Cybertron or something like that. I don't know.
But sir, that's suicide!
Okay, in all seriousness, War For Cybertron was huge back then. It's the one that everyone knows. If you were to ask someone the first Transformer game that would pop into their head, I'd bet it'd be this one that comes to mind. And for good reason. It's a classic, and well, I want to talk about it today, since I want to continue this little Transformers video game retrospective I have going on. And not just that, but I also want to highlight its lesser known iterations on other platforms. But obviously we should start with the main console version first, since that's the one I think most of you are familiar with. I find the behind the scenes of this game so cool to look into. So, High Moon Studios, they only made 2 games before War for Cybertron, a Jason Bourne title and a game with Capcom called Dark Watch. When they approached Hasbro about doing a Transformers game, they literally did a sketch of Bumblebee and showed it to Hasbro, and they were like, yeah, let's do it. I love that a sketch of Bumblebee was what led to all of this. And I gotta say up front, I love the art direction of this series. It's one of my favorite art styles for any Transformers piece of media. It's so good. And well, it came out on the HD systems, and like I said before, it was really the first Transformers game to really get a lot of positive attention. I love the Armada PS2 game, and I really enjoyed some of the early movie games. But War for Cybertron was really the first game to show people that, yeah, Transformer games can really stand toe-to-toe with AAA games. Oh, and before we really get into it, I just want to say that the opening cutscene is fantastic. It's by the same animation studio who did the opening of the first movie game, and wow, what a good first impression this was. This captures the entire game so well. It's honestly one of my favorite openings in any game. It's so good. So, in the beginning, you still have the choice between the Autobots and Decepticons, the latter of which takes place before the events of the former. I always started with the Decepticons since they are chronologically first, but if you want to, you could start with the Autobots. It's basically about Megatron learning about this new substance called Dark Energon, and his plan to corrupt Cybertron's core. We also get to see how Starscream and the Seekers joined the Decepticons, learning of the original Autobot leader Zeta Prime, and Omega Supreme is here too. And as for the Autobots, it showcases the rise of Optimus from a regular commander to becoming a Prime and gaining the matrix of leadership. Oh, and Trypticon is here too. It's honestly a pretty simple story, all things considered, but still pretty good. I will say, I wish we got to see earlier points of Optimus and Megatron's story, because this game doesn't really go into their history together much. Especially Megatron. In this game, he's already established to be the leader of the Decepticons. We don't get to know much about this version of Megatron. I think it's kind of a missed opportunity to go into his backstory a little more. Optimus is a little bit better. We do get to see how he became leader of the Autobots and eventually a Prime. That's really cool. But still, I think they should have delved a little bit deeper into how this version of Optimus was before all that. Like, it's still crazy to me that these two only have one scene together in the whole game. That's insane to think about. Don't get me wrong, I still think they are both great in this game. I especially love how insane Megatron is in this game. I love this one scene where he's daring Omega Supreme to blast him. It just showcases how unhinged Megatron is in this game. It's pretty great.
You think you can destroy me, Omega Supreme? You think you can destroy Megatron? Do your worst!
I also love seeing how a bunch of characters like Bumblebee, Jetfire, and Starscream got their start. And to touch on this, I think the voice acting is really good. Like, everyone is doing such a good job with their characters. Obviously, Peter Cullen is fantastic in this as always, but I also want to highlight some of the other cast members. Yeah, I'll give you some of my favorite performances. I love Sam Riegel's Starscream. I like how even this early on, he still captures a lot of Starscream's mischievous traits, and I also love this little banter he has with the other Seekers.
Did you see that?
You mean that creepy-looking thing that just jumped over the side?
Yeah.
Nope, I didn't see anything.
I should have left you two on the station.
I really dig Johnny Young Bosch's Bumblebee. I like that instead of it just being another iteration of Bumblebee that can't speak, this version is more hot-headed, and I really like that. We don't tend to see this type of Bumblebee much.
Megatron can take this city over my twisted, lifeless shell.
We'd prefer no further loss of life, Bumblebee.
Focus on the task at hand, Autobots.
While I do like his Jetfire, I gotta say, I really love Troy Baker's Sentinel Prime, or Zeta Prime as he's called in this game. I love that while this version of Sentinel is one of the more heroic versions of the character, he still carries a lot of arrogance and over-the-topness that every version of the character has had.
Is that all, Zeta? A pathetic army of Energon clones? Is that the best you can do? You have no idea! Here, I have limitless power!
But honestly, one of my favorite voice performances in this game is Steve Bloom as the narrator. I don't know what it is, but I just love this intimidating yet cold performance he gives off. It's very much like the narrator from the G1 series.
The great Omega Supreme is vulnerable. Megatron and his Decepticons must press their attack if they hope to overcome the Guardian of Iacon and force him to unlock the gateway to Cybertron's core.
And that's only scratching the surface. There's so many other good performances in this game. Just really well done all around. So what we have here is a third-person shooter, and yeah, it's still great. I love how this game feels. I think this is the best feeling Transformer game so far. I literally have no complaints at all with the controls. It feels great. It's a third-person shooter. If you played one of those, it's gonna feel familiar. You got two weapons at all times in your robot mode, which are mostly what you expect from a third-person shooter. An SMG, a cannon, a Gatling gun, sniper rifle, shotgun, etc. You also have different types of grenades and also a character's special ability. So at the start of every chapter, you get the choice between 3 different characters, and they each have their own special abilities. These can range from stuff like a hover, a whirlwind attack, a buff. It's a good variety, and a lot of them are really fun to use. My favorite is definitely the whirlwind attack. It just feels so satisfying to use. Unlike prior games, you actually have 2 different types of movement for the vehicle modes. You have the traversal mode like with the other games, but you can also enter this hover mode of sorts where you can control your vehicle more freely, and you have a couple vehicle mode only weapons to choose from. With Megatron's tank mode shooting with the giant fusion cannon, it feels so satisfying. I mean, otherwise the core gameplay is just a typical third-person shooter, but it's really fun. But the levels and set pieces are just fantastic. I think my favorite level from both sides are Chapter 4 of the Decepticons campaign and Chapter 8 of the Autobots. The former just has these really fun segments where you're trying to escape Omega Supreme, and the set pieces are just really cool. And the latter, I just really like the atmosphere of Cybertron's core. I love how you can see how badly the corruption has gotten, and also riding the space slugs while shooting a turret is pretty fun. In terms of unlockables, there isn't much to find in these stages. The only stuff you could really find is some cool concept art, and you can unlock 2 characters from the multiplayer stuff. Also, on a side note, this game looks really good for the time. I'm playing the PC version, and oh man, it runs and looks so smoothly. It's so wild seeing this game run like this. I was always used to how the PS3 version ran. I'll be honest, I don't remember much of the soundtrack. It's not bad, in fact, it's pretty good, but I don't know. Not a ton really stood out to me personally, except maybe the main menu theme. I can't really name a lot of songs that really stuck into my head unlike the previous 2 games. Especially the first movie game. I still think that has my favorite Transformer game soundtrack. And probably the biggest aspect that everyone remembers about this game was the multiplayer with 3 different modes. You got 3-player co-op for the campaign, escalation, and the main shooter multiplayer mode. And well, unfortunately, just like Revenge of the Fallen, the servers were shut down. And while I know you can find a way to play it now with fan servers, I wasn't able to do any of that in time for this video. I just didn't have any time. I procrastinated a little too long on this video as is. But I do have a lot of experience with the multiplayer stuff, so I'll still quickly go over each. The co-op is self-explanatory, it's just the main campaign but with 2 other people, and it's great. I love playing through the campaign again like this. In the main multiplayer mode, you can pick which type of class you want to be and which body you want to pick. That's based on characters from the campaign and even some characters that weren't in the campaign like Slipstream and RC. You can pick which weapons and abilities you want and even give your custom character a little color scheme. It's not super in-depth, but it's pretty cool. It's kind of like an evolution of the custom bot from the first 2 DS games. And then, well, you got your standard team deathmatch, capture the flag, all the standard modes you'd expect for something like this, and well, it was great. There's a reason this was really big back then. And then there's escalation. You can choose whichever character you want, fight wave upon waves of enemies, unlocking doors to new areas while getting new weapons. It's basically COD Zombies with Transformers, and again, this was a lot of fun. You had so much multiplayer content to delve into after the main game, and heck, you can even have DLC to expand on that. It was awesome. And well, what else do you want me to say about this game? It's fantastic and very much worthy of its praise. I know I didn't go super in depth with it, but that's only because there's just not a lot for me to say that hasn't already been said. I think it's a game anyone can try out, and you don't even need to be a Transformer fan to enjoy this. This is just a really good third-person shooter. It's just a shame that it's kinda stuck on 360 and PS3, with the PC version having to go through hoops to get it working now. I really hope we see this game get re-released someday, because I definitely feel, especially after Transformers 1, this is another great interpretation of the beginning of the war between both the Autobots and Decepticons. If you get the opportunity, I highly recommend this one. It's a classic for a reason. I'll be honest, as much as I love War for Cybertron, while making this video, I was actually more excited to talk about these 2 games. Because unlike War for Cybertron, these 2 are not nearly as talked about as much. Heck, even compared to the previous movie games, they aren't brought up as much as those games either. So I'm really excited to show these off to people who probably don't remember them as much. We'll start with the Wii game Cybertron Adventures, since I don't actually have a lot to say about this one. I was surprised to find out this was by Next Level Games, like the Mario Strikers and Luigi's Mansion developers. I didn't even know they did license games, so that was interesting to discover. Believe it or not, this was the version of War for Cybertron I grew up with. Again, I only had a Wii, I didn't get a PS3 until much later, so this was how I was introduced to this iteration. When I started researching for this video, I found out that this game had a pretty negative reception. A lot of people aren't really big on this one, and I'm gonna be honest, and this might be a bit of a hot take. I think this game is really fun. Like, this isn't nostalgia talking. Going back to this game, even after playing the HD game, Cybertron Adventures is a really fun time. I think it's easily the best Wii Transformers game. Way better than Revenge of the Fallen, and better than the first movie game's Wii version. It's got issues, don't get me wrong, but there is a lot to like about this one. Like, I guess my first complaint is that I don't really care about the story. All it really amounts to is just what else was going on during the last third of War for Cybertron, and it's fine, there's nothing really wrong with it. I just found it really uninteresting in general. I don't mind that it's a much smaller cast, that's perfectly fine. And honestly, the game doesn't look that bad. Like, yeah, it's definitely not as good looking as the HD game, but I don't know, I think it holds up alright. And the animations in the cutscenes look so much better than Revenge of the Fallen. Everyone actually moves normally now, they don't move like they're sloths. And as much as I don't really care about this story, the voice acting is still really good. Again, it's a smaller cast, but they still do a great job, and there's a lot of moments here I do really like.
Hey, how's the view from down there, Barricade?
I bet when he's alone, he holds his arms out and runs around going,
Not better, guys. At least if I break down, I can just coast to a stop. instead of falling out of the sky and exploding.
So instead of it being a third-person shooter, this is an on-rail shooter, very similar to stuff like House of the Dead or Time Crisis. You automatically move between areas, shooting enemies down, and rinse and repeat. It's very simple, but I think it works pretty well. Rail shooters are just the perfect fit for the Wii. I always found Wii remote pointing to work pretty well for the most part, and this game feels really good. You got 4 different types of weapons that each character has. Some may have a little different arsenal, but they all pretty much play the same. You do also have these vehicle segments, which control just fine. They don't last very long, but they're pretty fun. You got 2 campaigns as well as a challenge mode, and you can even play this in co-op. And depending on how good your score is, you could rank up and unlock some art. Honestly, I don't really have a lot to say on this game. It's a rail shooter. There's not much I could really elaborate on, but it's pretty fun. It's only around 2-ish hours for both campaigns, and that's perfectly fine for a game like this. Like, I don't think this game is some amazing experience you need to try. I don't know, it's fun. I could understand being disappointed that this wasn't the same game as the HD version. Like, I totally understand that. But for what it is, I recommend giving this game a shot. If you're really big into rail shooters, this is a fun little game. Now, as for the DS versions, I also grew up with these games. I remember getting them at a Kmart of all places when I was little, but I haven't played them in a long time, and revisiting them for this video, they are quite interesting to say the least. Firstly, I love how crusty this opening looks. Oh my gosh, it's so bit crushed. I love when DS games included crusty FMVs like these. They're beautiful. Unlike the previous 2 games, there's no custom bot you play as, unless you count this random Autobot soldier you play as for the tutorial, but that's about it. In fact, in the Decepticons version, he's just killed by Megatron, which I find pretty funny. But this is a third-person shooter like the previous 2 games. However, unlike those games, it uses tank controls. Yeah, despite the movie games using regular movement, this game instead used tank controls, which I was really surprised to see revisiting this game. They feel fine though. It works a lot better than you think. I'm someone who doesn't particularly mind tank controls as long as the game is well designed, and this game is pretty fun. You got a big selection of characters with both light, heavy, and flying types, a lot of them being exclusive to the DS versions. You got characters like Grimlock, Motormaster, Ultra Magnus, Dirge, Cyclonus, Hot Rod. It's a really cool selection. Due to how big the roster is, you always have 2 characters to switch between at any point, and I love this feature. I think it's really helpful that when your health is low, you could just swap to the other character at any point. It's very cool. There is no weapon system like Revenge of the Fallen, but there is now a weakness system. Basically, if a character's weapon or melee matches the icon of the enemy, you'll do a lot more damage. It's simple, but I like this system. It gets you to think on who you want to choose for the next mission, because with a few exceptions, most characters only have 2 different weaknesses, so you kind of need to think about covering all 3 weaknesses with both characters. Or, you know, you could just use someone like Cliffjumper who has all 3 weaknesses, and not gonna lie, he became my main during the Autobot campaign. He was so good. But another aspect you need to worry about is the leveling up system. See, your character will gain XP during these stages, and you could upgrade one of 3 attributes with each level up. But I'm gonna be honest, I would only focus on like 2, maybe 4 characters in this game, because this is easily the hardest of the DS games. Enemies will do so much damage to you if you use a low-leveled character, and even when you have the corresponding weakness, you still might not even dish out that much damage if you haven't upgraded your character much. So as a tip, focus only on a small number of characters, unless you really don't mind grinding in past levels. You can also grind in the arena. These are just challenges that will allow you to unlock some more characters, and also these nodes. Throughout the stages, you can find these discs that either have characters or nodes, which you can equip right before you start a level and you'll get a perk. Basically, they just increase a certain attribute. Definitely look out for these though, especially with how hard this game can get. Like, again, I already mentioned how much damage enemies can do, but also the checkpoints are so mean. They are so spread out from one another, it's really annoying. I think they should put these checkpoints a little bit closer, especially with how long some of these levels can get. Otherwise, the levels are pretty straightforward, just reach the end, maybe flick a couple switches here and there, but that's about it. I also dig the different pathways depending on which type of character you have. Transforming feels good. I also think the game looks pretty nice for the DS. I don't know, I really like how low poly DS games look. War for Cybertron on DS is a really fun game. I think the difficulty can be very harsh, and the tank controls does take a little bit of getting used to, but otherwise I think this is a really solid game. I love the character roster, the gameplay is very fun with the weakness system, the arena mode is fun, the presentation is pretty solid. I don't know, it's just a really good game. This was the last Transformers game Vicarious Visions did, and honestly, this was a solid end to their lineup of DS Transformers games. I think overall, if I had to pick my favorite DS Transformers game, I still would pick the first movie game, but only because I just love the story of that game so much. But Revenge of the Fallen and War for Cybertron is still really fun as well. Would highly recommend checking this one out. And that's all the versions, and yeah, they're all great. Whichever version you go with, I think you're going to have a great time. Obviously, the main console game is a classic for a reason, everyone knows that. But I also think the Wii and DS games, while not to the same level as that, they are still really fun little games. I think people should definitely check out those games too. So yeah, they're all good. Go play them. But if you have experienced these games before, what did you think of them? Did you play War for Cybertron on consoles? Did you experience Cybertron Adventures or the DS games? Let me know what you think of these titles. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on them. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this video and take care. Thanks for watching.